Welcome to Fortune Forecast. I am Daisy, and we are reading through Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Behrend, published in 1921, and it is in the public domain. Just a quick recap of just two quotes that I want to share from chapter 4. The quote from Jesus in the Bible, "Ask and ye shall receive." That was one. And the second, "The worlds were formed by the word of God. Things which are seen are not made of things which do appear." In this, then, she added that all things are projections of thoughts that are simply solidified. I want to share a testimonial. Last year, I had visualized and written down in my little journal that of the many things I have there, one of them was that I wanted a BMW. Given my financial circumstances at the moment, and knowing that nothing is impossible for God, as long as I have faith and I continuously move forward in the direction that He points me in, I just didn't know how, and I think that that's where sometimes I, and maybe many of us, sabotage our own dreams. It's because we begin to focus on the how. We begin to put time limits. We begin to work in the 3D world here. And I am learning as I'm getting older and that there is no limitations to God and the creative force and universal laws He's put into play in motion. And so, to put this short testimonial, my mother-in-law last year, around May, decided that she wanted to go back to Europe. She is from, well, one of the things is she had a BMW and she gave it to us. And I didn't think about it until I was going through my journal. I have a meditation journal and I go through it and I'll write things in there. And I'm looking at one of the things that I had asked for was a BMW. Well, funny thing, realized now, I'm like, okay, well, not that I'm complaining, I'm very happy. Thing is, I'm a sedan type of girl. That was a BMW SUV, and I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying, it's like, wow, I'm sitting there looking at the emblem on the car, and I'm like, well, I will be a believer again, again, and again. There it is, a BMW. And here it is, something I asked for. I now need to make sure that I hone in, and I had to be really clear. I wanted a sedan, a sedan 4-door BMW. And well, that's just what we need to do, is hone down what we want, really get really good with the visualization and just thank God and the universe and believe, truly believe. So that's my story. And with that, we'll go ahead and jump into Chapter 5, Expressions from Beginners. Hundreds of persons have realized that visualizing is an Aladdin's lamp to him with a mighty will. General Foch says that his feelings were so outraged during the Franco-Prussian War in 1870 that he visualized himself leading a French army against the Germans to victory. He said he made his picture, smoked his pipe, and waited. This is one result of visualizing we are all familiar with. A famous actress wrote a long article in one of the leading Sunday papers last winter, describing how she rid herself of excessive body fat and weight by seeing her figure constantly as she wished to be. A very interesting letter came to me from a doctor's wife while I was lecturing in New York. She began with the hope that I would never discontinue my lectures on visualization, making humanity realize the wonderful fact that they possess the method of liberation within themselves. Relating her own experience, she said that she had been born on the east side of New York in the poorest quarter. From earliest girlhood, she had cherished a dream of marrying a physician someday. This dream gradually formed a stationary mental picture. The first position she obtained was in the capacity of a nursemaid in a physician's family. Leaving this place, she entered the family of another doctor. The wife of her employer died, and in time the doctor married her, the result of her long pictured yearning. After that, both she and her husband conceived the idea of owning a fruit farm in the South. They formed a mental picture of the idea and put their faith in its eventual fulfillment. The letter she sent me came from their fruit farm in the South. It was while at the farm that the doctor's wife wrote me. Her second mental picture had seen the light of materialization, Czech Republic, and so she sold her home. Many letters of a similar nature come to me every day. The following is a case that was printed in the New York Herald last May. Atlantic City, May 5. She was an old woman, and when she was arraigned before Judge Clarence Goldenberg in the police court today, she was so weak and tired she could hardly stand. The judge asked the court attendant what she was charged with. "Stealing a bottle of milk, Your Honor," repeated the officer. "She took it from the doorstep of a downtown cottage before daybreak this morning." "Why did you do that?" Judge Goldenberg asked her. "I was hungry," the old woman said. "I didn't have a cent in the world and no way to get anything to eat except to steal it. I didn't think anybody would mind if I took a bottle of milk." "What's your name?" asked the judge. "Weinberg," said the old woman. "Elizabeth Weinberg." Judge Goldenberg asked her a few questions about herself. Then he said, "Well, you're not very wealthy now, but you're no longer poor. I've been searching for you for months. I've got $500 belonging to you from the estate of a relative. I am the executor of the estate." Judge Goldenberg paid the woman's fine out of his own pocket and then escorted her into his office, where he turned her legacy over to her and sent a policeman out to find her a lodging place. I learned later that this little woman had been desiring and mentally picturing $500, while all the time ignorant of how it could possibly come to her. But she kept her vision and strengthened it with her faith. In a recent issue of Good Housekeeping, there was an article by Addington Bruce entitled "Stiffening Your Mental Backbone." It is very instructive and would benefit anyone to read it. He says, in part, form the habit of devoting a few moments every day to thinking about your work in a large, broad, imaginative way, as a vital necessity to yourself and a useful service to society. Huntington, the great railway magnate, before he started building his road from coast to coast, said that he took hundreds of trips along the line before there was a rail laid. It is said that he would sit for hours with a map of the United States before him and mentally travel from coast to coast, just as we do now over his fulfilled mental picture. It would be possible to call your attention to hundreds of similar cases. The best method of picturing to yourself that which you may desire is both simple and enjoyable, if you once understand the principle back of it well enough to believe it. First and above everything else, be sure of what it is you really want. Then specialize your desire along these lines. And this concludes Chapter 5. Let's move on to Chapter 6.